Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the YYC Real Estate Show. Today is episode 60. Congratulations, boys. We have myself, Sebastian, Sheraz, and our guest, Steve Dunphy. Boys, let's dive into it.
Yeah, very excited to get to know Steve. So we'll let Steve introduce himself briefly now, and then we'll dive into Steve's journey into real estate overseas. Really excited to hear all about that. So Steve, please just introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, guys. First of all, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
It's a blast. I'm kind of, know Brandon, Tony, and you guys now, and it's great to be, get another foot in the door here with the family. So, especially being here for a couple weeks. Long story short, born and raised Calgary. Been here my whole life until 2021. From there, we left to packed up my family, went to Puerto Vallarta, and been there ever since. Yeah, man, it's been pretty sweet. Before that, I'm a petroleum engineer by trade. So it was oil patch from 21, and for about 12 years, and then actually got into cannabis. So yeah, man, we were the first. I think we were the first. It was either us or Boaz, but we were the first licensed producer in Calgary. And one of the few in Alberta, so that was dope. And
literally,
it was dope.
Yeah, man, that was a massive project. Like that was like an awesome project. With the amount of time it took and the money that we raised and stuff like that, it was wild. I went down to Sugar Bud after that. Was the director of cultivation, which is in Stavely, about an hour south of Calgary. And then it was time to go. We literally packed up, and in 9 days I had everything sold with the motor, so like sleds, dirt bikes, trucks. We were on a plane in 12 days, and restart life. That's an ex-wife, my partner at the time, and 3 kids, and fucking see you later.
How old were the kids?
Ryder was 2, and they would have been, and 2 9-year-olds, Johnny were 9, so... Pretty real, man. That's like when people say like, "Oh, I wish I could just get out of here and like do it. I just want to leave here." It's just like, well, we did that.
Yeah,
and
So
awesome.
So yeah, and I've been down in PV since October 2021. We left because you guys can probably think, and it was just time to go, get out of here, and and it's been awesome. Living beach life, and
That's great. That's great. So was it comfortable for the kids moving down there? I hear there's a lot of English schools, like a surprising amount.
Oh yeah, man. Like whatever you want down there, you got it. It's there, right?
Yeah.
My kids like it. They don't like it. They're like they like the cold.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm like, you guys don't like the cold. Like I mean, if we were here and it's like minus 40, you ain't gonna be going out. But I think
they probably like the activities in the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a huge difference. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's good, and it's kind of just living, man. Good.
Awesome. Yeah. So, how is the market in PV?
Yeah, tell us about when did you get your license? When did you decide to get your license down there?
Okay, so I'll back it up here. I'll start at the beginning. So going down there, it was kind of like, what am I going to do for work? We're on a nest egg. What's going to happen, right? So the first year didn't work. Just kind of try to figure it out. Real estate wasn't even on top of my mind. Like wasn't even there, and I wish it was at that time, but it wasn't. And then I got back. Went back to oil patch just because petroleum engineer, I can always lean back on the degree. Right? And then as I was doing that, it was kind of like, well, now I have to leave. I'm working in the States, which isn't bad, but I'm missing my kids, right? I'm like I'm leaving, and it sucks, and it's I'm gone for a month, I'm back for a couple weeks, and I was just doing this thing back and forth. And I was like, well, what about real estate? And it just like one guy was talking about it, and I'm like, well, I can do this. I have an entrepreneurial background with cannabis. I'm technical, being an engineer, so I was like, I can do this. And so I got into that, and I started with EXP, and it was good. I didn't really do anything with them, but it was like a good learning on like just getting into this. Like I don't know anything about it. But I basically took a good learning from it, and then I got headhunted from another company, and they're a startup, and they knew that I was kind of a startup specialist. That's kind of how I announced myself. So they were starting up, and they said, would you like to come? Because not just to sell houses, but to kind of like help us out,
Right.
starting up, kind of deal, and to an extent. And so I did. So then it's just kind of like been getting into it, and here I am. So
yeah. And I imagine that PV probably has a huge amount of development happening right now, everywhere.
It does.
So what is the cost of entry for someone looking to get an investment property in Mexico, maybe a new build? What would you say?
Okay, so the things that I like to push to foreigners is the pre-sales. So you can get in for a pre-sale for like 60,000 right now, and so I'll go American prices right now because that's kind of like how I talk, but do the math from there. So you get down for 60,000. By the time it's going to be like a 1 to 2 year development, year and a half, and you're up by like 25% at the time of delivery. So that's like a good investment for the people to come down, right? And they can come down again either on lifestyle, or they can come down as an investment, or a bit of both, and then or Airbnb. Now living down in PV and buying in PV, you have the Airbnb component to it, right? It's dope, or living in a destination town, and I'll go on to that one later. But that's the difference. One of the differences between living in or selling in Calgary, or buying in Calgary, or any city metropolis versus a destination town is like you get that Airbnb. Now I don't know it completely, but up here I'm pretty sure that Airbnb is like locked out of BC, and like it's tough now, right? Like
here like they have locked into it a little bit, but I know that there's like whole apartment buildings that they've made that are Airbnb friendly. But
there's only three.
There's only three
officially that allow it officially. There's a lot.
Yeah.
You'll find a lot of Airbnbs that are running, but they're not technically allowed from the management company's perspective and the bylaws. So officially there is only 3 buildings in town that allow it, but then there's apartments, homes, a room in a home, a walkout basement, a carriage suites, which is like a suite above your garage. There's many different Airbnb options in town. But if you want a downtown apartment, you're left to only look at 3 buildings, and there's never really any listings.
See, that's crazy. I mean, and I'm sure it is that for a reason. Like, it's not crazy. I'm sure there's like thought behind that. But like, again, destination town, doors wide open. Like your Airbnb and your shit out, like whatever. There's no rules here.
Every day you're not
anything
there
like
yourself. You're Airbnb.
Yeah. So again, people come down to buy, for the investment, and then they can offset costs with Airbnb, or they come down for lifestyle and chill out, or a combination of both.
Is it true that these developments a lot of times offer to manage your Airbnbs for you? They also incentivize that, where they'll take a percentage of the Airbnb.
Not that I've seen. Not like the actual
developer. I've seen some in like Merida and Cancun, where the developer specifically says, if you want to Airbnb it, that's fine. We charge like I think it's like 10-20% to manage it for you. We'll clean it. We'll freshen up the sheets, everything, get it ready for your guests. We'll take them to their spot, like fully taken care of. And that's a pretty cool thing, because a lot of these places have their concierge service.
Yeah, like pick up from airport, perhaps bring them to the unit.
Yeah, all that
charge
stuff.
A premium to you, the owner. That's a cool process. It does exist in other places. But
I've never seen it. I've never seen it in PV. There. Not to say that it's not there.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it, and it's a lot of guys that try to do arbitrage too down there. I did that last winter. I did that for 4 months. I actually got a sick deal, like. Buddy, instead of just signing up for a year, I was like, can I do it for half a year? And then I'm going to arbitrage this thing out. And to find a landlord to allow you to do that, that's a whole other battle, is to find somebody that's going to let you do that. So I was able to find one, and it went good. I broke even on it, but it was just good to I actually had an opportunity to take like 5 or 6 units on. I was like, okay, all right, here, this is the entrepreneur in me, and then it was just like, hey, man, just hold the horses here, let's just let's do this one, once first and see how it is. And it was a good time. I mean, it was good. It kind of just runs itself. And my nanny actually, she helped me out with some cleaning and stuff like that. So, just having resources and stuff like that. And so, man.
What, sorry, go ahead. You were going to ask.
Nothing.
So, do you have a question, Zach, before I go?
I was just going to ask, where you find most of your clients. Are they past work clients, or they're your investors that you use to is it cold call? We always talk about networking for our own business. Is it past friends or business people that you kind of work with, or is it locals, or you said obviously foreign investors? So
yeah, it's a great question, man. Because I'm a foreigner myself, I'm not looking for the locals down there. I'm coming to the U.S. and to Canada,
for sure.
And just networking, and the cannabis crew, everybody that we were all trying to raise money at the same time, right? And And I know that, you know, he was and she was and stuff like that. So I just tap into, you know, the old crew and, you know, from other companies that, you know, we were getting into the game with and just tapping that and just networking really, you know, and making calls. And so I like to like have conversation. I like to like do stuff like this, but cold calling and like having to do that for a certain purpose, like it's not in my like comfort zone. So I have broken out of my comfort zone to like do that where it's like, you know, it's just hard for me to do it as I never really was like had to do those kind of things in really any of my roles. But I have kind of, you know, I am coming out of my shell on it, so it's good. And as I do, I find that it's like easier and easier. I'm like, oh, these are just like limitations I put on my own self because of whatever. And then you just like bust through a phone call or you get something, you're just like, this isn't hard. This is just like you being an idiot.
There's nothing tough about like picking up a phone and dialing.
Nothing's hard about raising your fist and knocking on a door. Right? Nothing hard about picking up the phone, dialing, and calling.
Right?
So it's like it
it's
is
all
all
the mental. It's all the mental game.
Mindset.
Yeah,
it is
100%.
Mindset, right? And trial and error. You gotta have thick skin. You gotta be able to deal with rejection. You gotta fail 100 times before you get that deal. Yeah. Right.
So I understand that compared to specifically Alberta, signing documents and getting things signed in Mexico is a little more complicated. Everything needs to be notarized and it needs to be signed in person, which is kind of a pain, I understand.
No, it does not. You can have a power attorney down there. You can buy a house from up here and never go down there and get it done.
Okay, so how does that work? You give the lawyer, the power of attorney?
So you have your lawyer. You got your broker, and then you got a lawyer, and then they're also dealing with the notary, right? So the notary takes care of like pretty much everything. And if you're within 50 kilometers of the beach, which most people that are moving down there are looking for like maybe not beachfront, but beachfront or like a little bit back, but it's 50 kilometers from the ocean or 100 kilometers from the border. And then you got to get the fideicomiso. So the fideicomiso is basically like the government's own loophole for themselves and the buyer for people to buy, for foreigners to buy within that beach range, within that area, right? So dealing with notaries, you could do it all from here. Just need to know who you're working with and have a strong, you know, legal counsel. But the notary like kind of takes control. I wouldn't say takes control of everything, but that's like the process is through that.
Yeah. So someone wanted to find like a lawyer that they could trust in PV, or they felt comfortable with, like just contact you or.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. I got great contacts down there, and that was another, you know, excellent thing was just networking within my areas to find, and, you know, escrow, you know, notaries, lawyers, stuff like that. And it's just like up here, you know, you start networking and then everyone kind of like gravitates to you because you're putting that energy out there, right?
And I'm sure that the whole question mark behind how do I actually do a deal or how to buy a property in Mexico is the biggest barrier for a lot of people, right?
Totally.
Like it's uncomfortable. You're buying in a foreign country. You have to send it through a wire transfer or something to a completely foreign bank account.
And some of these guys, man, they don't even do escrow. Like they just want the cash. Like this is Mexico, you know, this is like, give me the cash, I'll give you the deed, and then the deed doesn't come through. Like this stuff happens, you know, and that's why you really need to know your stuff and like, you know, deal with somebody reputable down there. You know, I like to say like myself that can, you know, lead that process and make sure that there's no rock and turn, because it can get pretty crazy down there and you could lose your shirt. You could literally lose your ship. I know a guy, I just got an email, last week that this guy that kind of did work outside of, they were close to our brokerage, and man, he just like literally lost his shirt, and I'm like, he lost everything, like wow. And I'm just crazy, man. So
it's one of those things like, what can I do? It's like, well, it's Mexico, so good luck, I guess.
So I maybe that's something to talk to you about is the whole way to get down there in terms of, you know, how do you do this? And, you know, for me, how like I said, we were gone in 12 days, like gone. And we got down there, and it's just like, hey, you got your 180 days, your work visa, or your travel, or your FMM, your visa to be there. And then it's just like, hey, and we had no idea. It's just like, hey, what do we do? How are we going to stay down here? You know? And there's a couple ways. So the way that we did it, and it's kind of like it's not hush, but like there's people know about it, but it's not advertised, I think, as much as it should be. So here's the story. We're down there. I'm like, okay, what the hell's going to happen here? How do we get our residency? Because we've already left the country. We've already left Canada. And in Canada, you go to the consulate, you show the documents and all that kind of stuff, right? And that gets you your visa to go down there. Mm-hmm. And I'll stop it right there because I'll get to that, how that process goes. But no, we're gone and we ain't coming back, right? It's like within this time period. So how are we going to stay down here? I hear this thing called regularization. I'm like, okay, well, what's regularization? And they say you just let your FMM expire, which is your visa, your 180 days. Once that's down, and as long as you've been to Mexico, like what I heard at the time was like once in the last 10 years. If you've been to Mexico once in the last 10 years, and you expire FMM, so you stay longer than you should be in the country, go to INM, which is the immigration, sign, do some paperwork, and you get your temporary residency. And I'm like, fucking no way. I'm like, there's no way it's that easy. Like, I did not believe it. And I'm just like, there's no way. So I called 2 lawyers. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, still don't believe it. Internet, looked it up, still don't believe it. And because it just sounded too easy now.
And the risk to reward, if it wasn't, was not, probably not very good.
Yeah.
So, that'd be pretty scary with the family down there to trust. I'd be like, holy shit. That's fair, yeah.
So I okay, here we are. I got, a little tip from a friend on how to do this stuff. I did all the paperwork myself. I had a friend down there that went through it, so she was able to help me, I'd say like 75% of the way.
Right.
And then I did all the paperwork, and I mean, this is something that you should probably be lawyered up with, or at least have some sort of counsel, but I'm like, no, we're doing this. So did it, and just stamps across the board, sweet. So now we got our temporary residency we're in, and they give you 1 year. Now, I've heard some guys get 4 right off the bat, but for people who are wondering right now, plan for 1 year. And then after that, you have to go back in after the end of your first year, and then you can jack up for 3 years, and then you can go for your permanent residency after that. Yeah. So I'm in my 3rd year of temporary, and that, so yes, that's regularization. The other way is the financial component. So you come up here, you set up a deal at the consulate. You show them. You have to show. I think it's like 5,500 Canadian a month for the past 6 months, and it can't be below that you've been making. Or you can go on investments to show that you have
certain net worth.
Yeah, I think it's like 95,000 for the past 12 months that you have to have in the bank, and it can't dip below that. So it has, like, that's what you have to maintain, and that's what you show.
Minimum balance.
Yeah, and that's for temp. So, and then for permanent residency, if you want to go permanent right off the bat, it's I think it's 9,500 Canadian per month you have to be making for the past 6 months, or 295,000. Now, don't quote me on that, but it's something around there, and they all are different. So whatever consulate you go at, whether it's the States, whether it's Canada, States, Colombia, whatever, they'll all be a little bit different. So there's some research to do on that, on like who's the lowest, and if you can find that information. So that's how you would do it in the traditional financial component on doing that, consulate go down. The process is that you would go into the consulate, they're going to pass you or not. Sometimes they don't pass you even though you do qualify. They're just assholes, and they're just no, and they'll give you some bullshit reason. I've heard lots of them. But anyways, say you're successful, they stamp your passport. You go down within 180 days. Once you're in, you have 30 days to go to INM, immigration, and then you do the process. And it's basically like 1 day, and then there you go. So once you have your temporary, you go up till 4 years until you're permanent, and then permanent. Once you're that, you're permanent, and you can leave as long as you want. Like even me right now, I can come to Canada for 300 days a year and go back. Where a lot of other countries aren't like that. Like you have to stay in.
Yeah,
right.
It's like 6 months in and out. Like that's the time period.
Or you can't leave for so amount of time, or else it gets revoked. Like Mexico's not like that. Like it's all like, okay, you get it, and then you could like leave forever, and you still have it on the permanent side. Well, temporary and permanent. So yeah, man, it's pretty sweet like that. So yeah, it was.
So
that's it.
So good decision. You're happy with it. You're loving life down there.
Like living down by the beach, like you're beach living, and it's like now to think about living inland, and maybe it happens again someday, as you can never say never, right?
Yeah.
But as much as I ever will, and I'll just keep heading south. Like if I had to leave Mexico or there was a decision to be made, I'm just going south, for sure. El Salvador or something.
No more warming your car up and shoveling snow.
None of that, man. No, none of that.
So speaking to that, we always ask our guests 2 questions. What's one thing you love about YYC, and if there's one thing you could change, what would that be?
Well, the proximity to the mountains. I was diehard snowmobiles, camping, survival camping. As I raised my boys like that, and the proximity to the mountains. Having the Bow River, the Elbow. I was floating the Elbow there yesterday. And I love that, but I'm an outdoor enthusiast, right? Yeah. So that would be my answer, is just the proximity to the mountains, being able to just get out of here. You can see the range from town, and
that's honestly the most common answer is the distance to the mountains, how close we are. You can drive an hour and a half, and you're just by yourself.
Yeah. And then I think to change, I don't know, man. That's a tough one to say. It's a beautiful city. There's not. I mean, that blue ring, maybe. Get rid of that thing.
Every time my parents pass that ring, it's just a freak out.
It's just.
Well, there was a hot topic in the news at the time, right? I mean, it was how many millions of dollars for.
Just taxpayer dollars to a blue ring. Just brutal.
You can fix every pothole for.
Yeah. Actually, and as you say that, I was driving I stay at my parents' house while we're back visiting. And the potholes in the back alleys are Mexico, man. They're literally Mexican back roads back there. I'm generalizing it, but where my parents are, it's So I don't know. I don't know what I could say about changing Calgary. It's a beautiful city. It's a large footprint, and it's a little big city. You know what I'm saying? I've always looked at it like it's a big city, but.
It still has their hometown.
But it's
connected to so many people. It's a connected town.
Yeah.
And the hospitality is pretty good, I think.
Yeah. I went downtown for lunch. Saw my engineering buddies today. Lifelong friends with those guys, and we have a beautiful downtown. I think it's a beautiful downtown.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing that I did notice last year when I came back was the crackheads, man, around here. Just from engineering downtown in 2010 to 2015, and
right.
Still being around downtown in those days, compared to what it is now. What happened? There is it's not New York.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think
we can't say the word on here because we don't want to get shadow banned. But there's a big worldwide thing that happened that caused a lot of homeless people or people on the fringe of being homeless to become homeless. So
yeah, it's also
a couple of years ago.
It's that, and probably also a huge population increase, and the lack of housing that we have here as well.
Yeah.
And just the affordability.
Well, and the affordability.
I
was gonna say. I mean, there's if you were on the fringe or struggling as a family, and with grocery prices now and everything, it'd be hard to survive out here, honestly. And I couldn't imagine the big cities. That's
right.
why the Vancouvers and Torontos. That's why. So
totally.
But
yeah. No, that's awesome. So you got any specific developments that you're currently pushing right now?
Yeah, I do. There's there's one called Tibet, and it's south of PV. They haven't started or anything like that, but it's all on pre-sale right now.
Okay.
And it's got this lagoon, it's got an estuary, and then on the other side of that, of the sand dunes, is the ocean. And it's just this amazing spot. I wish I could show it. I'll get you guys this information, but it is amazing. And that's one that I'm pushing right now is Tibet. And then we have Piroli, which is in PV up by the golf course. And that's
I was just trying to find.
Yeah, for sure. So that's another
by the golf course, you said.
Yeah. That's another pre-sale.
Is it just me or Mexican golf courses like pretty expensive? I find that they're they're pricey.
Kind of everything is down.
Yeah.
Man. Like, I don't know what
No,
to
they're
say.
nice.
Yeah,
They're
well,
nice,
yeah,
but it's
because you
like-
got there's a lot of rain in the summer, right?
Yeah,
so,
they're beautiful.
Yeah, and there's no water shortage, right? So you just got those trucks out there just watering everything all the time. But yeah, so Tibet, that's one. And then, well, I guess while I got the floor, have you guys heard of a development called Chala? XALA? It's like they're putting
XALA?
Yeah, it's they got a Six Senses hotel there. Like it's like crazy.
Is it Ishala? Like I know that sometimes the X is pronounced.
Yeah, exactly.
Ishala.
Yeah. So Chala, I call it Chala.
Yeah.
Chala.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go Chala. Just that's how I say it. But so the owner of the beach that Chala's built on.
Sorry, go that one or go back. Who's
Should be this. This is
3,000 acre
development.
development.
That's what this is, yeah.
Six senses
Wow.
hotel and everything.
It's like
Yeah, it's
insane.
huge.
So that's there, but the beach, like neighboring beach to the north of it,
Yeah.
that owner actually sold the beach, from what I understand, sold the beach to Chala and they built on it. So we don't have my agency doesn't have exclusivity to that beach that we're trying to sell.
Right.
But that's one that
You
the
guys are
boys are
pushing.
really
Yeah.
pushing right now. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's like we're talking hotel development and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anybody that's looking for that kind of play down there, and then you got to look at the neighbors down there. So Tibet's just there. You got Chala down there, or south of them. You got Careas. Careas is have you guys ever heard of it or anything like that? There's a lot of old school European money that's gone down.
Okay.
It's crazy. I think the
The
hotel.
architecture,
Yeah.
European.
So Kill Bill, Kill Bill 2, when they're fighting at the end and he kills David, or she kills him, kills Bill.
Yeah.
So that hotel is there, and it's insane. Below that, you got the Four Seasons, and I'm missing another play down there, but south of PV. That's the hottest play. That area right there is the hottest play in the Pacific. Now that's going to give it the run to Tulum, Cancun, stuff like that, because Tulum's going off too, right?
Yeah.
But that strip right there, right below PV, is a lot of money. And if you're getting into that, you can get into Tibet for $60,000 right now, right? And then, but nothing's there yet. And then eventually you'll build.
Yeah. So that $60,000, is it just land value?
Just land.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's your land.
Right.
And Tibet's very they got this big Buddha and this, the
Yeah.
whole monk kind of feel going on, real holistic, tranquil,
Right.
stuff like that. So, but that again, that whole stretch, your neighbors in this area is it's balling, man, and you can
Right.
get in there for a good price right now.
Yeah, no,
there's so many of these pre-sales, but what it is, it's having that due diligence and making sure that these developers down there are going to go, because there's a lot of developers that shit the bed, right? And there's your money.
Oh, I
Talk
bet.
to you later. It's happened. I mean, it's Mexico. It's happened, time and time again. So we do our due diligence to make sure that who this is go. We're not gonna just start slinging anything, right?
Joe Blow's
No,
development
I'm
company.
not putting my name on that stuff. I'm making
good
sure
for you.
that
Yeah.
this
Well,
stuff's real.
that affects your reputation as well. So
Completely.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
huge too.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're having fun.
Yeah.
It's a good
I
time
love it.
down there.
How can people contact you, reach out to you? Do you have a handle or Instagram, phone number?
Yeah, right now, because I'm doing a branding on myself, and I'm not. I want to do it right. I don't want to come out and look like this, this scab who just tossed something up on Instagram. I want to have it crisp, and maybe that's a little bit to a fault, but it is what it is. That's what I'm doing. So I don't have my Instagram up yet, but ask at stevendunphy.com, and just for email for now. And then I'm gonna get on the email campaigns and stuff like that. I got my MailChimp. Get that kind of stuff and start sending stuff out like that. Sure. And, the more I can network with people, the more I can throw into, those email chains and send them off.
Excellent.
And,
Well, if people contact us directly, we'll shoot them your way if they're curious about buying in PV or
Yeah,
Mexico,
and not
yeah.
just buying. Like, if you guys
Yeah.
are like, people are asking like how to get down there. Like, it is kind of scary, you know. Like,
Yeah.
it is like, what the hell do I do? How do
to
I do
another
this?
country,
Right?
yeah.
But I did it, man. I did my taxes. I like setting up your taxes, the residency. Get your phone, man. Getting the like your gas filled up on top of the house.
Oh,
like, all
yeah.
these things,
I got
man,
some
are
There's a
stories
lot of
about
stuff.
that.
you know, and like I said, we were down in 12 days, and like we went to Rio for 4 days to like all inclusive, just to kind of like bleed it in. Then we had an Airbnb
Yeah.
for 10 days, and like soon as that Airbnb, we went into as soon as we left the Rio to go on our own, it was like in that moment, in that minute,
Yeah,
it was like we
shit
got to the
gets
house.
real.
There's no food in the place. Like, we just got to the Airbnb,
Yeah.
no car, nothing. And I remember walking down to the grocery store to get some water, and like walking 20 minutes in like extreme heat with this water bottle on my shoulder, and just like, holy smoke, like reality set in,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
right
I
there.
bet.
So people have that, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe not to that degree. Like, people are probably more, you know, put this program a little bit
Didn't leave it 12 days.
together a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
more than we did,
Yeah.
but that's how you learn too, right? But anyways,
Yeah.
anybody has any questions on any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Like, I did it, like I've done it, you know.
That's awesome.
Probably
It's a good resource.
what I'm the strongest at in Mexico right now for, you know, people. Like, I am, you know, doing the real estate, but in terms of relocation, and I'm not a lawyer, and it's, you know, how I did it, so I can't say like it's the only way or whatever. Like, I
Right,
put the
yeah.
disclaimer on it, you know.
Yeah, but-
you know, check with your legal counsel and stuff like that. But I did it, you know, and I can give you
Yeah.
90% of the
Yeah.
way to go, and then you can.
Well, and
you
real
know,
life experience goes a long way, and somebody you can trust. So
yeah, yeah, and actually, one more point for the viewers is the regularization program. If you, it's supposed to go to 2025. I've heard that's not like out of the horse's mouth, but it's been extended for another year. And every year, what I've kind of heard is like, this is the year, this is the year, you know, this is it. So as long as, and what else I've heard is once or twice, I hate that I heard both of them, but it's once or twice since 2015, if you've been in Mexico, that's when you can do the regularization. Then you just let your FMM expire. The other thing on that FMM, just for anybody that wants to know this, is that try find a crossing that will give you like a 10-day or a 2-week instead of a 180-day visa. And then, because then it'll expire like right away.
Oh,
then you
okay.
can like do it right away.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Good to get it over with.
yeah. Can I tell you guys one more story?
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
Okay, so I drove down from North Dakota to PV.
Yeah.
It was wild. Man. Yeah, so I bought a truck up there, and so I brought it down, drove, you know, all through the states. It was awesome. You know, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. I got stuck in Albuquerque for like 2 days. It was just like the worst time. And then, yeah, exactly. And then I cut over to Nogales. Now you can cut down through Laredo, which I highly would tell people to do that way than go through Nogales. Because when you go through Nogales, now you're going through Sinaloa, Sonora. Okay, now
Yeah.
you're in cartel country, man. Like, this is like what you see on TV, like dry, arid. The energy is there. It's just like, it's hard. So
Yeah.
I got pulled over. I got pulled over at the border, of course. I did all my Christmas shopping in Albuquerque. Bought rider dirt bike, got some bikes for the kids. So I get flagged at the border. And I had to pay them off. And then I got pulled over 11 times going down because I got one piece of fact here is that when you go down, you can't just drive your vehicle into Mexico like you do, like in the States or Canada, just do a quick trip.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You need to have your car tied to a temporary import permit if you are a temporary resident. If you're a permanent resident, it's like a major bitch to bring a car down. So anyways, I got my temporary import permit on my truck, I cross, and now it's just like all these cops want to see that temporary import permit. So I'm getting pulled over like, like literally every 2 hours. There's just another like, okay, here we go. And they don't care about your license. They don't care about your insurance. They just want to see that tip. Because if you don't have that tip, like your car is gone, man. Like there's no like a like.
Well, it's not just that. It's just not like the thing is, I've experienced it too when I was in Mexico. I was with some of my friends and they were white, right? But they see that and they're like, let's see if we can make a penny off
Yeah,
these guys,
totally.
right? And they're like, let's pull them over. Let's see if we can find even the smallest thing that they're doing wrong, and then we'll scare the shit out of them.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then they'll ask for money.
Yeah, totally.
Right. They're like, I don't want to wreck your whole trip. I don't want to wreck your whole trip. You know.
Here's $500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they'll ask for something.
Yeah,
Officer, you look like you're very hot. Why don't you go buy yourself a drink?
I gave a guy a tin of chewing tobacco once.
No
He was
way.
just happy as big and shit. So yeah, I'm getting pulled over, and like one thing I love about Mexico is the slap pound. Like, because like here, like in Canada, you can't generalize it, but just like handshakes or fist pounds. Down there, just that slap pound, like it's so like. I wish everybody up here would like adopt that. It's just so much more. It's so much more connective, you know. Like it's just anyway.
Quick.
So I'm getting pulled over by all these cops, and now it's starting to get dark, and it's just like right off the bat, slap pound out of the window just to bring that energy, like hey, it's all good, and get out of the car, take a look, what do you got, okay, buck on your way. So this is like I can't remember the town I was near, but I was. It's like 11:30. It's getting dark at like 5:30, and everyone's telling me don't drive after dark, and I know that, but I'm like, I can't stop driving at 5:30. Like I got a lot of. It took me 4.5 days to get down there. Anyway, it's 11:30. I get pulled over by the cartel. You don't know if they're cartel or they're cops, except when they got balaclavas, and there's just like you're getting pulled over by that. So, slap pound, get out. 3 guys turns into 9 guys right now, and the truck is the doors are pulled off. They're smelling the air in the tires. The headlights are taken off. Like I'm talking like the truck was ravaged. And I bought that truck in North Dakota, right? So I'm kind of like I'm playing it cool. And then all of a sudden I'm just you start racking your brain a little bit. I'm just like, what if this guy had a gun in the back and I didn't see it and I didn't clean it? What if he had some like in the back and I didn't know, but whatever. Just some contraband, So I'm like kind of starting to freak out a little bit, and bro comes up and he's like, you got any guns on you? I'm like, no. He's like, you sure? And I'm like, I don't have any guns on me. And he's like, well, what are these? And it was 2 empty 22 shells. And I'm just like, come on, man, are you kidding me? And he's like, go stand over there. So they go stand over there. They rip the truck apart, and like I've never seen a truck ripped apart like this. And then he's like, hey, come. And then like the head guy comes over. He's like, hey, come. He's like, come over here. And I'm like, what's up? And he's just like, how much money do you have? He's like, what are these? He's like, do you have any more of these? I'm like, these are 222 shells, man. They're empty, like they're garbage. And he's like, how much money do you have? I'm like, I got like 5,000 pesos, enough to get the tolls. Lots of tolls going down there.
Yeah.
And he's just like, give me 4,000, get on your way. And I'm like, yes, sir. And then it was just
Right
I had
away.
to pack the truck back up. They put like everything kind of back, but it was like,
And then you're like, put it
I
back
have
together.
not been scared
Yeah.
in a long time. Like I'm talking like scared, man. And then so I get into the town where I'm gonna get a hotel for the night, and the GPS takes me through like the greasiest Mexican back alley, like potholes the size of swimming pools, and like dark and mean. And I'm just like I'm shaking, man, already from that experience. And I was like, it was just a scary, so I go to bed that night, wake up. I'm driving towards. I'm close to Mazatlan. Never been to Mazatlan, so I duck in for some gas, and I'm leaving, and just this truck comes firing behind me, cuts me off, locks it up, brakes. I'm like slammed on the brakes. AKs are already pulled on me from the back of the truck, and it's just like, okay, well, if they didn't catch anything last night, like I'm okay, so whatever.
Right.
So I pull over, AK's drawn on me, and it's just like, okay, here's this again, and then after that it was but 11 times I got pulled over 11 times.
That's incredible.
There was probably like 5,000, 6,000, 6,500 in payoffs the whole way,
Right.
and a cell phone ticket, but it's nice, like as you're driving, as you leave Sinaloa, and Sonora, as you're coming into it, you start going more towards the ocean, like maybe an hour north of Mazatlan, and now like the lushness comes in the jungle, and then you start like getting into that, and it feels
So you
good,
take a
and
breath
now
of
you're
fresh
just like,
air.
hey, this feels good. And the last thing I'll say about it is that like I've flown into PV a lot.
Yeah.
You guys have been to PV.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. But when you get to see that gradient of like Sinaloa, Sonora, the dust, like all that, and then you like drive into PV. It's like, this is a very special place. Like it is a beautiful place when you get to have that contrast from other places in Mexico, where it's just like, yeah, man, like
You know
this
what?
is
I'll
a
have to take
nice
your word for that. I might not do that.
spot. Don't do it. Do not do it. I strongly advise against
what's the
that.
point? I mean, like, you had to, but like, yeah, why would you do it if you didn't have to? Like, that doesn't sound very
Fun.
fun to me.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
no,
like,
yeah,
sorry.
no. Go through Laredo if you're gonna do it, and there is Facebook groups. Can't remember what it's called off. You just look it up, but it's like Mexico Caravan or something like that, and it's just live, right? Like people are crossing the border, and they're just, you want a caravan, and then I was gonna do it, but I was like, I don't want to get into some group, and now I'm like, following these guys. I'm like, I just do my own thing.
Yeah, screw those guys. Yeah.
You got a cell phone ticket, so they don't take your cell phone, but they give you a ticket.
Yeah, he gave me a ticket, and he's like, hey, we got to go down to the police station. I'm like, I'm not going to the police station, man. I'm like, how much do you want? And he's like, well, how much do you got? I'm like, well, how about 200 pesos? And he's like, 300. I was like, listen, here's 200 pesos. I said it just like this. And I felt the energy, like he was a good dude. And I was like, listen, man, here's 200 pesos. Take your kid out for dinner tonight. Go watch a movie. Have an awesome night on me. And, do it. And he looked at me and he took it and he's just like, sounds good. And just walked away.
Yeah.
And it was like, and that's what it is. The cops down there, I think you could almost generalize it that people down there work because they just have to work. But it's family. It's family, it's culture, it's language, it's food down there. So the cops down there, and I don't want to generalize Canada or Calgary or anything like this, but it's like that ego of a cop, and I'm not saying they're all like that, but down there, these cops are just doing a job to go home at the end of the night. You see them leaned up against the wall, they're not I'm a policeman and I'm here to police. It's I'm going to work today. I just can't wait to go back to my kids tonight. They don't care. It's like
Here, there's definitely, unfortunately, a big ego for sure.
Yeah, and that's we could probably rabbit hole that one, but
Yeah, that's not.
let's not.
Yeah. I'm not saying that you should buy police officers. That's not what we're saying at all.
No, that's but it is an option.
No, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy down there, and it is wild. The thing is, those police officers, they do not get paid enough for what they do, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to do the paperwork. They don't get paid enough to do that, right?
Yeah.
They just want to make some extra money and be on their way.
Yeah.
But no, I've definitely been searched by cops. They did the whole car, the rental vehicle, and one guy was playing with the safety on his gun. They're so loose, they don't care, right?
Yeah.
And then
Cash society. Society,
definitely,
man.
definitely.
These guys, and they know it all the way to the top. So at PV,
Yeah.
you got the Marines, you got the cops, and you got the El Cartel, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird how it all. I think it's I am not a proponent of what those barbarians do. That is some pretty rank shit that these cartels do. I don't stand behind it, at all.
Definitely.
There is this little tiny silver lining, though, that comes with it, because the governments can't just run away with it, because it's well, actually, that's not going to work for us. So we're just not we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So there is this pushback, and I can't get into the details of it because I don't know, but there is definitely they work together. There is decisions that are made,
100%.
and governments can only push so far because they can or they can't. And it's an interesting thing in PV. PV is the second safest city in Mexico, right?
I believe Mérida is the number one, right?
Yeah. So, and it's funny, right? Because you got the East Coast and the West Coast on that whole thing, right? But with PV being like that, there's no. I should say there's no. But there's limited, minimal break-ins. There's minimal theft and stuff like that because we need tourism to be down there, and that supports the cartel, right? So it's not just cops that are busting you. You break into a car, it might be a cop, but it also might be, one of the cartel members, and you better hope it was a cop that catches you, not them, right? So it does keep it peaceful at bay,
and I'd also I like to say that I've been to Mexico a lot of times, and I've never seen anything that bad. I think that's specifically to that area, but I've never seen a situation that bad, right, where the guys are pulling AKs on you or nothing, right? So in general, most people will never experience something like that. But obviously it is a.
But you will, and I wasn't the only one. I talked to numerous people that have made that drive, and it's just like get ready.
Well, that
to
specific
get, 'cause
drive,
it's
yeah.
not just getting pulled over. Like you're going through check stops. Like
Yeah.
so you're getting pulled over and you're going through these check stops that are pulling you over. So it's a combination. But you know what? Like another thing that I get questions about. I can't speak about the north. And you know the drug traffic and all that stuff is to the north. No, like 100%. Like that exists down there.
Yeah.
And to the south, it's there too. But like in our bay, like down there, it's not. And again, I can't say that because I don't have like the facts on it. But I take Ryder out for bike rides to get tacos at night all the time. I cross the highway because we're on the east side of the highway. So there's a little to do there to get over. We go into Jarataderes, and that's small town Mexico. That's right beside Vedanta. Everybody knows what Vedanta is. It's like Mexico's Disney World that they're building. It's right by the place. But yeah, like we're outside. And again, I'm just saying what my experience is.
Yeah.
You go down to the Malecon, like it's not like these, drug crazed cartel members, slitting people's throats that like everyone's just like, I ain't going down to Mexico. Like, it's not like that. Again, in different areas, sure. But where we're at, it's chill, man. And then like the other thing too is like where you're at with PV, here's a sales point for everybody, is like you got PV and you got, which is the Bay, you're in the Bay. To the south, you got Tomatlan, which is just beautiful beaches. But then as you come up north, then you got Bucedias. Bucedias has like a ton, like that's like the 55 plus Canadians. You want to go, you're 55 plus Canadian, you're going down to Bucedias and like you're fitting in, like, high season is just full of them. Then, you go through the jungle, then you're into Sayulita. You guys been to Sayulita? You know what it is? Sayulita is like this bomb surfing town, man. It is so rad. Like you come into it and it's just like shops and stores, like what you would think of a surfing town, and like the beach is dope. And it's just like a really high energy, lots of colors, lots of restaurants, lots of everything happening all the time. That's Sayulita, and then like literally 5 minutes up the road, there's I like to call it like its sister town of San Pancho. And San Pancho is like kind of the opposite though. It's very tranquil. It's kind of yogi, very family friendly. And so you got that town right there, and then to the north of that you got Las Lomas, and then you get into Guayabitos. But just that like this whole like paradise, man. Like you got starting at the south end of PV, Bucedias, Sayulita, San Pancho, Guayabitos, and just like that whole the whole bay. Oh, and then you got Punta de Mita. And Punta de Mita, Four Seasons. You got Billy Gates. He's in, like that's that echelon up there, right? So then that's the point. And if you're playing in that ball league, you're balling up there. Like it's so that's another point of interest. So if you're buying property down there, like you have the sales point of not just PV. It's all the surrounding towns, man, and just like the experience of it all.
Yeah, I mean, they call them magical towns for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah. So, I don't want to leave. I don't plan on leaving, and we are seeing real estate starting to not dive, but come down a little bit. Like people like me that left in 2021 because of that reason. En masse, people were coming, right? And then all of a sudden, all the locals are putting up their price a little bit, and then everything's going up in price. And now it's just kind of like this out of control, like kind of like everything's, getting more expensive. And now, this is my opinion, I'm seeing some people leave now because they can't do it. Like they came down on the nest egg, but now, they went for it. And good for them, right? They made the honest go at it. But some people can't do it now after 2-3 years. They can't work down there, whatever the case is. And now you're starting to see some people leave. And I'm not saying this is the only reason why real estate's going down, but it's not like this, from what I've seen, is just this crazy influx that it was. I think people definitely are still coming down. But I think just in that the last couple of years was just like, poof, like they're coming, man. Like we're and it's G7 countries. It's not just Canada. It's not just Canada or the States. You got the Chilenos, you got, which isn't G7, but, you got Australia, there's New Zealand. Like, we got a whole bunch of people within our community. We live in a gated community. It's beautiful. But, yeah, there's a whole dynamic of people that have come down. But now you're starting to see some people leave. You're seeing rent rates come down a little bit. And the negotiation, too, that's the other thing that I've seen is, the negotiation is definitely open now, where before I wouldn't say it was like kind of this is the price and like other people are going for that. So you're getting
sellers,
you're going overpriced almost. Now it's like, no, I'll give you, 2,000 pesos just on a rent, for example, like they want 25,000. Well, I'll come in at 22,000 and a nanny. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Or not a nanny, a cleaner, once a week or something like that. Throw those little things in there. So those conversations are happening now, where in my experience, they weren't since I've been there in 2021. So we are kind of starting to see that. And it's always and it's Mexico, like it's cash, right? So it's negotiation. So having that availability to negotiate is it's everything, right? Just hopefully you're a good negotiator, and if you're not, you know one now.
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
There we go.
What brought you into town this time around? Stampede?
Just seeing family. I mean, I think I'm a single dad. I got 3 kids, and I had a pretty good, I had like the, quote unquote picture perfect kind of like blue collar raising. I had a brother, that I love dearly, and mom and dad. My dad, loved my mom. It was just great. So I like to bring that, it's the way I was raised. So, and we always went on family vacations when I was young. So I, bring the kids to back home, and I like seeing the boys, man, I need to network, so like it's like it's a whole bunch of things, right? Like the initial is bringing the kids and seeing my folks.
And it's really nice that there's like, pretty sure there's daily nonstop to Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, and it's not bad. Like I tell my buddies, I'm like, don't overthink it, man. Like get on the plane for $400, come down for a couple days. You don't need to have this like, like this Europe minded, like I gotta go for 2 weeks and see everything. Like, come down, sit on the beach,
gonna cost you the same.
Get out of my house. So
awesome.
I came down and see the parents, and then see you guys and a little bit of Stampede in there.
Tony he's down there, right?
Yeah, but Tony and I were hanging out for a while when he came down last year, and man, did we connected, man. It was pretty real.
That's a highly anticipated episode we're gonna do with him. Finally, we haven't had him on yet.
Yeah. Oh, really nice. Yeah. He's man. I tip my hat to Tony, man. Like that guy. And not just like professionally and like business wise, but just as a person, man. Like
great guy.
You want to talk to him, man. You want some stories, like talk to
we're waiting
Tony
for him to come back.
Yeah.
If he ever does come back.
I don't know when I go back on the 29th. I don't know if he's still going to be there, but we crushed tacos, tequilas. Yeah, he brought Cato down there.
Nice.
I see
For
Cato
his
sitting
surgery.
here. Yeah.
Down there for his surgery.
I was bringing painkillers back for Cato last time.
All those dog painkillers.
For Cato.
Straight up. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show. We learned so much about real estate, investing, moving down there. So, hope to see much more of you as you come.
Yeah, hopefully someday we can do an episode in PV.
For sure. Yeah.
Networking, right?
Yeah. And hey, man, I just like to throw out the thanks to the Cash and crew. Like, like it's awesome being, I don't want to say in, but like, you guys are great guys, and knowing Brennan
because of them too, right?
And Tony, and just Brennan goes back to like some of my engineering buddies, so it's just like we've talked before on the phone, but now like putting face, like finally meeting and having a drink, and
like Sheraz, and I'm like, oh,
I got a beard now.
Real.
Yeah, so it's just you guys are a great group, and it's just I'm fortunate to hang out with you guys. At the end of the day, like
thank you.
You guys are good dudes.
Appreciate that
for sure.
No, this has been good. It's been great.
Yeah,
learned a lot about PV today. Honestly, I've never been to the East Coast or West Coast of Mexico very much. My family's all on the East. So someday I'll have to come visit.
Oh yeah, well you got a house, man. You got a house, and I'll take my truck, take it all.
Yeah, man.
I'll go camp on the beach gladly, man.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah. Actually, that would be like awesome. You guys came down sometime, like rent a yacht, get a catamaran or something for a couple days. There you go, live from BV.
From a catamaran, That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll have a number 2 in a foreign country. That'll be fun. And again, what's the best way for people to reach you? What's that handle that you said?
Yeah, ask at stephendunphy.com.
So let's spell that. Ask at
Yeah, at Steven with a V, so Steven. And Dunphy is D is in dog, U is in uncle, N is in Nancy, P is in Peter, H is in Henry, Y is in Young. Ask at stevendunphy.com. I have to do that because like every letter in my last name.
We're gonna tag it in the description and stuff like that. But
and then I'll once I get my Instagram and stuff like that, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Thanks again, and everyone, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next week.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to hit my link tree to subscribe to my Instagram and YouTube channels and or to schedule a time to chat. Keep it healthy, everybody.